What happened when you trusted the wrong family member? 5 years ago, when I was 16, my parents were having a lot of marriage problems and fighting all the time. It was a really crappy situation and I ended up spending a lot of time at my grandmother, Dad's mom's house because it was nearby and she was always nice to me and there wasn't all this tension like there was in my house. My mother had complained for as long as I can remember that my grandmother doesn't like her. I'd never really seen my grandmother be mean to her, but every once in a while she'd make a comment to me about how I clearly needed new shoes, why hadn't my mother taken me shopping, or if I didn't know how to cook something when I was over at her house helping with dinner it was why did your mother never teach you how to cook a good meal? Stuff like that. It never seemed that deep. I was having a hard time at home with my mom anyway, so it's not like I was quick to defend her. I guess she was probably stressed out about the stuff with my dad, and I definitely wasn't the easiest teenager in the world, but it felt like we were constantly fighting about school and the guys I was dating. One day, I came home from school and my grandmother was standing outside with my dad and my mom was screaming at both of them. My dad was crying, which I'd never seen him do before. My grandmother said that she saw my mother at a restaurant making out with some other guy. My mom called her a liar and kept screaming at my dad asking him if he was really going to believe this. Then she turned to me and said, "You believe me, don't you?" But my grandmother swore she was telling the truth, so I told my mother I didn't believe her. My mother said that if that was how I felt I could get out of her house with my father. My dad and I went to stay at a hotel that night. I didn't even have anything other than what I'd worn to school that day until a few days later when my mom let me come home to pack a bag. She was crying and asked me again if I believed her, but at that point I was so mad at her for kicking me out that I said she was a lying skank and I was never going to trust another word that came out of her mouth. My dad and I moved in with my grandmother for a while until my parents' divorce was finalized. I went to college and my dad got his own apartment, and I never spoke to my mother again after that time at her house. Last month I was home from college and having dinner with my dad and my grandmother. My dad seemed really excited about something, and finally he announced with a big smile on his face that he'd started seeing someone and it was getting serious. I was so happy for him. He started telling me about the woman, who sounds really great, but then I noticed my grandmother sitting there glaring at him. He asked her what was wrong, and after doing the nothing, everything's fine thing for like an hour, she finally lashed out and went, "After all that work I did getting rid of your demonic ex-wife?" And that's when the truth came out. She'd made the entire thing up. She even had paid a friend of hers to get her son to tell my dad that he was the affair partner, a part of the story I'd never heard before, because at first my dad hadn't believed her and had trusted my mother. My grandmother said all this crazy stuff about how she should be the only woman in his life, which was especially weird since I was sitting right there, but yeah, it was messed up. My dad and my grandmother screamed at each other for ages while I hid in my room. After he'd finally kicked her out and told her she was never to contact either of us again, he came into my room crying and he and I just hugged for a long time. We both immediately wanted to reach out to my mother. He's happy with the woman he's dating so he doesn't want to try to get back together with her I don't think, but he feels terrible for what he did to her and to be honest neither of us even had any idea how she was doing or if she was okay because we hadn't spoken to her in so long. I still had her number so I decided to try texting her. When she didn't answer, I thought maybe she'd changed her number. But a few days later she responded telling me that she would never forgive my betrayal and she wants nothing to do with me. I don't know what to do. I hate that I believed my grandmother over her, but I was a kid and I don't think my mom should punish me forever over it.